Welcome to Wickerson Studios. I'm going to basically show you this fairly simple script. It's two parts. It makes a geometry in the top part, and it orients that to a kind of trigonometry-inspired curve. I use this bottom function so much, so I want to show you a little trick right at the beginning of this of what you can do. Generates a curve like this. You have full parametric control on it. I've brought in some interesting items. I'm going to zoom in and show what happens, but it's basically the same as having, I like to work from the back, a piped form that's actually an interpolated curve. Now this actually is going over to a perpendicular frame on a curve that I could end up orienting geometry onto that curve, but we're going to ignore the top right now. Once again, get to the points that inspire that. Here's the multiplication that allows a lot of control to the trig that's involved in it. I've brought in pi as a tool here, and it's made from a range with a domain with another pi input here, and then it's fully parametric in what you do. So if I look into it and I start to change things, you can see the flexibility and the altering and geometry and rotation are all influenced. You make a pretty simple spinal cord kind of system construction that then can be brought into Rhino, baked into Rhino, and then decide how you're going to actually fabricate this as a model for a larger project or whatever you want. But what I want to show you right off the bat is I use this so often, and even though I don't take it to pipe all the time, I take these elements of it, I select them all. I can push down on my middle scroll wheel. I'm just going to take my beautiful face and put it down here because I know you guys just want to see it. Push down my middle scroll wheel, and I want to hit cluster right here. Great tool. Boom. Makes that script a lot easier, and I can cut and paste and use whatever I want and input whatever sliders I want into it, and it demands. Now, it's not that informative. I haven't changed the icon color or did anything fancy. We're going to see if this works. What I'm going to do is select that middle one, go up to my file, go into Create User Objects. I'm going to call this my favorite trig 001. It's nicknamed cluster. I put it in the maths trig, and I should be able to just pop it in there, and we're done. I didn't change the color of that. I didn't change the orientation of that. Let me see where it popped in. I hope it didn't pop in the end. I hope it actually popped into my math file. There it is, right there. It's not too exciting. It's got a pretty, but instead of having to go to this file and cut and paste it, I could just pull that out like I pulled out the sine node in there. I'm ready to use it, my favorite trig function. If I want to see what's in it, boom, or if I hover over it, it'll pop up. I package it up, and it's always there available to me. And that stops me having to go in on every script I've done and continue to use one of my favorite nodes. Another system is download the app that gives you managing Grasshopper snippets. And for larger code, you can go in here and I could grab a clock installer Kubel cart, and that's gonna do something pretty wicked. It's not gonna bring in a actual single cluster. It's gonna bring in the entire script to the Kubel cart, and you'll see there it is. So that's a little more complex. And I don't like to cluster those things. I like to actually treat them as scripts as to what I end up wanting to make, and I'm not sure the size and scale of that. But if I went down here and put it in, you'd see what I've actually made. I've made this little Kubel cart from that script, and there it is. Anytime I need it, I don't have to rewrite it. So that's a nice thing that you can keep within the file. Say you wanted to change that or alter that or customize that in any way. I'll leave that. I'll get rid of that one because I don't need it in the script, and then I'll go back to this one, which is my cluster. I'm going to pull up my geometry, and so you think that was basically building a curve, and this video is going to be a little longer, and I'm orienting these two objects, that spine to that cluster, and of course the scale's been changed. I'm going to bring it back down to what it was, and let's take a look at how I made the geometry on the top. And this one I'm actually going to start from the front. Put my lovely face back up here for you. So basically I've got some sliders. I build a rectangle. I take that rectangle to two separate clustered, here's my bifocus tool so I can actually see what these things are named, and slowly customize my eyes to these icons, which I think is important for speed and efficiency. Some people disagree. Two clusters, and I've chosen in there a set of just a point system of two. If I brought it to three, you're going to see that changes the amount of lines that are generated. There they are. I have points on those lines that I can actually shift and select that as well. And you can see I can control the points on those lines. Then I'm going to actually move that geometry up. So that moved up slightly, and it moved in a Z direction very subtly. I'm not even setting a controller for that. Going back to these lines, I also want to grab the start and ends of those lines. And I also want a line going between all of those points and all of those geometries. Then I bring them together, and I pipe those. I surface those very close to what's happening in Weaverbird and other functions and other plugins, but I like to do this from the very basic Rhino Grasshopper 5 Mac files that I have on my laptop. It keeps things simple, and then when people download my files, they don't have to bring in a bunch of plugins. This is kind of introductory. Putting on a bunch of planes and of course, grouping that in a system that I used to use in the Tinkercode program that I showed in my earliest videos. I would recommend looking at that before Grasshopper. And then you're basically mapping that to that curve, that pipe curve. So in the end, you're left with a pretty cool form that you can take to bake. And there you go. And we can leave this file out, and we can go back to all 4 screens. We got a baked form, which I like. Got a little bit going on there behind me. And doesn't seem too private. I'm taking a look again. And what I've got is a little rendered up here in this window. I'll throw on my text so you can see what's going on there. Another beautiful image of myself. And we'll go down here to pen. And things seem to crash out on this file if I take it to too many of these different screens. But if it crashes, you basically get what I did. I don't feel like doing this video again. And we're going to wrap it up.